So the Feds announced a 75-point rate increase, and the markets reacted to this very positively so far. I'm here with Joshua Earp Snipers, and let's talk about Bitcoin's price right now as it has broke out back above the 50-day moving average, currently sitting right around 21,900. And more importantly, we broke back above 22,000, which we know was a very important resistance level for Bitcoin in the immediate short term. We came down to test the previous weekly open at 20,800. And so what we're looking for right now is whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to test 24,300 again, because that right now is the most important resistance level in the immediate short term. And if we look at some revolving parts for the bullish case right now, the S&P 500 did break to new consolidation highs with this announcement of interest rate hikes and this 75-point increase, which means that if Bitcoin were to just do what the S&P 500 has done, we could potentially see a break of 24,300. And what that would put on the table is for Bitcoin to potentially come up to test the $28,000 level, where we have this CME gap at 28,740. And so opening up that door right now for 24,300 is extremely important for the bulls if we want to assume follow through with this push back above the 50-day moving average for Bitcoin. And we're starting to see some altcoins move with this reaction. The Ethereum to Bitcoin chart has been able to hold above 65,000 Satoshis, now coming back up to test 70,000 Satoshis. And that's a very positive sign for the overall market. If we look at Ethereum to the US dollar pairing, we're back inside of this channel and above 1440 again, which is the 2018 previous all-time high. Ethereum's next immediate upside target is 1760, and then we have 1980 just above that. Let's talk about how the immediate short term looks and some of the smaller time frames, and I'm going to let Josh share his screen as well, because I'm sure there's a lot happening on the charts, especially in the immediate short term. The first thing we'll do is look at the volume. Let's go straight into this 15-minute chart. And you can see we have this large spur of volume that came in with this announcement. And so far we haven't seen sell pressure on the 15-minute equate to the amount of buy pressure, indicating we could still potentially have further upside with this move. And what the bears are going to say is, just because the S&P 500 came above this consolidation high, the NASDAQ has yet to do so. You can see the NASDAQ right now is trying to get above its consolidation high. So I think another puzzle piece in the immediate short term, snipers, for us to watch is the NASDAQ. Are we going to be able to follow the S&P 500 and see a continuation of this consolidation to see some new highs? And remember, the NASDAQ is already back inside of the consolidation range that Bitcoin was in that same time frame when Bitcoin was at 30,000 US dollars. So for Bitcoin just to do exactly what the NASDAQ has done in terms of market structure, it would justify that $28,000 target that we're talking about to fill that CME gap to get back to this consolidation, just like what the NASDAQ has done. So those are two big puzzle pieces on the table. And just check this out. So far, if we look at the overall consolidation trend, I found this on Twitter here, it's showing us that short term we're still very bullish because we're forming higher lows and higher highs, and that we could still see a continuation of this trend to form further highs because we still have this higher low formed. And interestingly enough, right before the Fed's announcement, we started to see open interest increase, and specifically on FTX, there was a 10.5% premium on long positions. So institutions front ran the announcement with going long. So that was a very clear indication that we're going to see that upside. And the key that I got from the Jerome Powell meeting can pretty much be summed up into 3 bullet points. Number one is we didn't get news that was bearish. 100-point increase would have been bearish. We didn't get that, so that was very positive. They stuck with 75 points. That was the neutral expectation. If we were to see something bullish, it would have been a 50-point increase. And the other two things that I find very important is that they talked about a unanimous agreement, which is good because it says that the Feds could be on the same page right now with making these interest rate increases. And they also talked a lot about slowing down hikes. If you look at the vocabulary on the scripts, and they said slowing down quite often, to the point where the markets could be taking this as good news who knows? We could see a turnaround tomorrow, but what we do know is the charts are black and white. So I'm going to let Josh share his thoughts, but 24,300 snipers is the most important resistance right now in the immediate short term. Bitcoin is getting every opportunity it needs to be able to come back above 24,300 with the equity markets showing strength. And so let's see what happens if we break above 24,300. Expect some volatility because it opens up the door to fill that CME gap at 28,000 and bring us to the midpoint of this new range. And this range would actually open up the door to 35,000 as well. But I wouldn't expect that until Bitcoin would calm down and have a cup of coffee here at the midpoint of the range, as it usually does when it breaks into a new price range. And so 24,300, very important in the immediate short term. And then 20,800, the previous weekly open, is our major support level. If we break below 20,800, we'll start to address some potential downside targets. I'm going to switch over to Josh Earp's screen. Remember to subscribe to his YouTube channel. The link is in the description below, and smash the like button if you guys support this content and would like more of it. Josh, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the price action that we're seeing today after Jerome Powell spoke. And let's check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, the Federal Reserve is neither federal nor does it have any reserves. So, you know, if the Federal Reserve can print dollar bills ad infinitum for nearly zero cost, and those dollars can be used to build up a position in Bitcoin, then what do you think happens next? It's a great question, right? Well, I'll tell you what's previously happened, and maybe that'll help give us some indication. Now, one thing I want to talk about, we're looking at the daily right here, and one thing I want to show you guys is you can see right here, I'll try to do my best to draw it out, but you can see once we had this consolidation up here, we came up to the top of the channel, we had a higher low, we came back up almost to the top of the channel, didn't quite make it, and then guess what happened? Right? Now, look what's happening now. We have our consolidation. Look, the exact same thing happened. We went up to the top of the channel, okay? We came down exactly like before, made a lower high, came back up again, wasn't able to reclaim that high. And then guess what happened after that? You know, potentially, this could be what happens. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you guys. I want you guys to be prepared. You know, we called this move at 24,000. You know, we had some of the top crypto YouTubers in the world, guys, in the entire world, opening up long positions and bragging about, just go to some of your favorite crypto YouTubers and just go look at this time period. You know, they had, you know, sometimes $1 million, $2 million long. It's ridiculous. You don't want to go long at the top of the resistance unless there's a confirmed breakthrough. It's just, you know, it seems like common sense, but it's just not all too common nowadays. Now, I'm not saying this is going to play out. I actually think there's a good chance that this doesn't play out. I also think that it's possible that it does. But the reason why that I think that it may not play out this way is because of the fact that we have this yellow line, which I've described multiple times. If we go to the weekly, you know, this yellow line has always served as the bottom besides the, March 2020, right? 7 weeks. But all I'm saying is I would be very, very careful right now about going long, especially considering that the last time we were in the same consolidation of this parallel channel, this is exactly what happened. It's almost scary to see. Let me just see if I can get rid of this real quick on my chart. There we go. So the whole thing is we can't be too much of a moon boy to where, or moon girl for those of you that are female watching this, to where we ignore the data, you know, where we ignore the facts. And, we called this dump right here a long time ago. What we're seeing right now is after this dump, it pumped a little bit, did not reclaim the recent high. It did not reclaim the recent high. What are we seeing right now? High at 24,349, higher low. Right now, it is not reclaiming the high. Now, I'm not saying it won't, right? Because anything's possible. I think this is the make it or break it for Bitcoin. I really sincerely believe this is the make it or break it for Bitcoin, because if we were to come down and break past this yellow line, then it would be very, very bad, obviously. things would turn very bearish. Now, however, we may be in store for some sideways action as well. But I can just tell by the wick on this daily candle that, there's obviously some type of rejection going on there, You can see right here, we wicked up, buy the rumors, sell the news. Looks like it's still trying to come up, but it just has reduced strength. I still think there could be potential room for the upside in the immediate short term. I think we could even come up and hit the top of this channel, and that would still be a lower high. I want it to be bullish just as bad as anybody else, guys. I want it to be bullish as bad as anyone else, but you just got to be careful. And so, anytime we see a parabolic action like this on higher time frames, you just got to be careful. Now, another reason why I think that everyone should be careful is the DXY. So even though the DXY is coming down a little bit, we still have very strong support right now on the DXY, according to this GAN fan technical analysis. And so I'm not going to be super bullish on Bitcoin until the DXY breaks below this very critical, important line. Until that happens, I'm just going to be careful. I'm just on the sidelines right now. I'm not in a long or a short. And so that's really what I wanted to say. I want everyone to be careful. And, I would give you my bullish targets and all that stuff, but Naeem pretty much covered that pretty well. So that's basically all I wanted to say today.
Thank you so much, Josh. And I'm really glad that you brought up that chart. I didn't even have the daily, weekly, monthly open pulled up to show us the fact that we just broke back above our current weekly open. And so in the immediate short term, we can also look at 22,600 as a very important support level since we're above it as I record this live stream. And I see we have some questions on the chat. I'll let Josh go through them while I show you guys a couple of things on the charts, and then we'll answer some of your questions on the live chat. Remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm snipers. And let's first talk about what's happening to the outside environment. The DXY you brought up, Josh, and you're right. We haven't seen anything significant happen to the DXY other than the fact that we're seeing some short-term volatility to the downside, but we're still maintaining 106.56. And that's a very important level that we want to monitor over the next 24 to 48 hours, because if we start to move away from 106.56 to the downside, then that could assume a retest of the monthly open, which would be bullish for the equity markets and the cryptocurrency market. But if we come back above 106.56, that's something to note, because that wouldn't be the best case for the bulls. And what's interesting about the DXY, if we go into this weekly chart, what we'll notice is we have the 20-week moving average, and that 20-week moving average hasn't been tested yet since March of 2022. Actually, it was February of 2022. So the start of this year is when the DXY bounced on that 20-week, and we've yet to come to test that. So even if we come down to this 20-week for the DXY, could still be bullish. A break below the 20-week would then confirm that we could potentially have a top here for the DXY. So that's what we're monitoring when it comes to the DXY, but it's still moving sideways in my opinion here at 106.56. So we want to still be very careful. Bitcoin's range, once again, with a resistance of 24,300, that's where we have to go if we want to assume 28,000 is on the table. Jared on the live stream says, do you expect a retracement below current price before we climb to 28? I think that it's still likely that Bitcoin can trend sideways, as Josh mentioned here, above the previous weekly open at 20,800 and below 24,300. There's still a lot of confluence and support down here at 20,000. And so we're actually seeing the more bullish case play out, with Bitcoin not coming back down to the 2018 previous all-time high yet and forming this higher low so far at the previous weekly open at 20,800. That's what we wanted to see if you guys watched yesterday's video for the more bullish case. But we still have a very important support level here at 20,000 US dollars, where we could still come down to this monthly open at some point or another before this month ends and still form another higher low. And so I think that this would be a likely bearish scenario that could translate into a bullish scenario. And so we have to keep monitoring 20,000 as long as we're below 24,300. But until we get above 24,300, nothing has changed. Bitcoin is just moving sideways still inside of this consolidation. And yeah, maybe in the short term, we did see this bullish flag break to the upside so far. And so if we want to expect follow through for this, that's where 24,300 comes on the table. If we can get above 24,300, then that would be a confirmation that this could be seeing continuation to higher prices, potentially that $28,000 level to fill that CME gap. So that's what I'm monitoring there for Bitcoin. And if we look at Ethereum, you'll notice we're back above 1440. That's a very big deal because this was the 2018 previous all-time high. We had a nice bullish daily candle close yesterday. The body stayed above 1440. So that was a very positive thing to see for Ethereum. It would be nice to see the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart break back above this lower high potentially, because if we can assume that we're back in a bull market, it would be nice to see the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart break into some new highs this year. And so I would want to see 70,000 Satoshis break through. If we can break through this for the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, that would drive other altcoins and the total market cap to see further upside. And that would really help that bullish case for Bitcoin to potentially continue further up. So I'm monitoring the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart quite closely. One thing I'll mention is I like that with this move to the upside for Bitcoin, we're also seeing the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart move up. We're not seeing Ethereum move into Bitcoin for Bitcoin to pump. We're seeing capital not just flow into Bitcoin right now, but also flowing into Ethereum. And so that's a very bullish sign for what we're seeing in the immediate short term. But it's going to be interesting to see how this weekly open reacts for Bitcoin, because this right now in the immediate short term, 22,600, it's a very important level. If we look at the S&P 500, you can see it's much and above its weekly open. That's one bullish puzzle piece. The NASDAQ, much and above its weekly open. That's a very bullish puzzle piece there. And so Bitcoin certainly has all of the reasons right now to see continued upside. And if it does, what I would expect is a test of 24,300, and immediately breaking 24,300, we could expect some further volatility to the upside. And then the question is, what are some upside targets? Well, the first thing we'll want to look at, since we're above the 50-day moving average, is this 100-day moving average. And it's not a coincidence that's sitting right where that CME gap is, around that $28,000 level. So if we break above 24,300, we could certainly expect the 100-day moving average to come on the table, and that would bring that $28,000 level on the table. And then, of course, 34,788 is also going to be opened up. And the 200-day moving average just came below 34,788. So maybe for a more medium-term bullish scenario, we get to that 100-day moving average. We possibly consolidate here for a little bit before we see a test of 35,000. And then from there, what the goal would be to stay above this 20-week moving average for Bitcoin, because that could really indicate a reversal, and that would actually strengthen the thesis that 17,600 was the bottom for Bitcoin. But that 20-week moving average, I think it's going to be extremely important if we break above 24,300. But so far, Bitcoin is still, in my opinion, inside of the same consolidation it's been in since we came down to 17,600. And we're not going to get out of this consolidation until we break above 24,300. So that's extremely important to monitor. We've got a ton of questions here. Jared also said, last few Fed meetings have showed 28% rise or fall 2 to 3 days after the meeting. Do you think we could test 20,800 again this week, then rise to that $28,000 level? It's happened multiple times. I certainly think that as the hype wears off, we're going to see a real reaction in the markets. And I think that's very clearly shown with the DXY. It hasn't made a strong statement or a strong move yet with the Fed's announcement. Yes, the S&P 500 is breaking into new consolidation highs, but the DXY is still moving sideways at a very critical level here. So I think that over the next few days, as the hype wears off, we're going to see the true effects of this meeting and what it means for the markets. Christopher on the live stream says, this fake pump is ridiculous. The 75 basis point hike was already priced in. Yeah, we certainly got what we wanted, which was nothing bearish because we didn't get a 100 point increase, and the 75 point increase was expected. And so that could put a bullish thesis on the table that the markets got what they expected. It was already priced in, and now we can see continuation of the recent trend, which has certainly been up. We've certainly seen a reversal over the last few weeks. We didn't get a 50 point increase, which would have been extremely bullish for the markets. And so there's kind of that double-edged sword there. Johnny says, touching the 200-week moving average right now. Let's look at the 200-week. So it looks like you're right. We're trying to break above the 200-week. That's what's happening in the immediate short term. So For those day traders right now, the immediate short-term major resistance, I would say 22,800. That's the 200-week moving average. And the immediate short-term support is going to be this weekly open here at 22,600. And so if we were to just go into the smaller time frames, we could probably map that out for the short-term traders. And so 22,800, this is really the big resistance right now in the immediate short term, while we have this extremely important support here at the weekly open. So this is what Bitcoin is fighting right now as you guys are watching this live stream. So let's see what happens. We break back above that 200 week. I think it becomes likely that we start to come up towards 24,000 so we can get another test of this extremely important resistance level. And remember this, snipers, we love to watch the 6-hour time frame as the institutional time frame. We've yet to see institutional sell pressure equate to the amount of buy pressure that has come in inside of this consolidation range. Just notice how when Bitcoin dipped down to 17,600, we got a lot of institutional buy pressure, but we haven't seen any sell pressure equate to that yet. And so that's an indication that this consolidation isn't over. We could potentially either see that sell pressure come in when Bitcoin goes to higher price levels and then we see sell pressure, or of course it could come in if Bitcoin fails to form another high in this consolidation, and maybe that sell pressure would come in during the sideways movement. And so that's two ways that that 6-hour time frame can give us a confirmation that there could be bearish price action, but we've yet to see that so far. So Johnny says it's a bit early, but great to see a bullish hammer on the weekly. Yeah, the weekly chart, let's look at how that's playing out. It's nice that our current weekly candle didn't get below the body and the low of last week's candle. That's why that was our major support level yesterday. And so the fact that we held that, I think, was extremely positive. At this point, what we want to see is follow through above 22,800, where we have that 200-week moving average. Do you want to take some questions as well, Josh, from the audience?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take some. And I also want to point something out, too, that concerns me as well, is that, this may be an opportunity for a short because the thing is, guys, if we're not able to reclaim this right here at 24,000, then we're definitely going down. You can see on the 4-hour and also on the daily. Like, this is the thing that scares me. There's someone also left the comment, said, don't be silly, don't be exit liquidity, which, some of the biggest YouTubers fell into that trap, going long at the top of the channel. I don't know what they were smoking, but here's the thing. So here's the thing, guys. I just don't like how wicky it is. Like, if you look and examine every single top we've had, it's anytime it approaches the top, it's very wicky. Look, wick here, that was the local top. Wick here, local top, wick here. Even right here, there's a wick right here, came down. Look at these two wicks, that was the top. Look at this wick right here. So really, before we even get to 24,000 and all that stuff, my whole thing is we have to first reclaim this wick right here, which is 23,000. So the moment that we were able to reclaim on the daily 23,000, I mean, it could be a top. It could be a local top. I mean, look at this 4-hour, right? The weekly open's holding us up. But every time that we've ever seen a wick like that, especially on a volatile move, that's how you can kind of tell. When there's a very, very volatile move, it's just kind of straight up. Like, look at this 4-hour candle. It's ridiculous, right? It's completely unnatural. Now we're starting to see it's making lower highs right now on the 4-hour. So I just want everyone to be careful. Definitely don't be going long at the top of the damn channel. All right, unless there's an obvious breakout, which you can check the liquidity. Let's see what else we have. Says this fake pump is ridiculous. Yes. That's usually how it goes. Touching the 200-week moving average, that's another thing I want to point out too, is let's go over to the weekly here, turn on the moving averages. And that's another thing that concerns me as well, is we still have not been able to close above, this is the green line right here, the 200-week. We have not been able to have a weekly candle close above the 200-week moving average. It's only wicked up to the 200-week moving average. So once again, when we start to see things look very wicky, that's when you need to be a little scared. Look at this gigantic wick at 24,000. We called that shit. Look at this wick right here. Look at this wick on the weekly. Anytime you've ever seen a wick on the top of the candle on the weekly, it has always been the top for that week's candle, for the most part. So that's what I got to say. It's not until we reclaim this 200-week moving average with the body candle close, or at least it doesn't even have to close, just the body of the candle just has to get above it and stay above it for at least a day, maybe 2 days, something like that. Doesn't even have to be a close. And although this is a hammer, there's still room at the top of the hammer. So we're not out of the woods yet. Let's see what else we have here. I have a bull flag with the pull. Do I see that playing out? It just depends. If there's no breakout and confirmation and there's no retests of previous resistance as support, then it's going to be hard for me to get bullish. But yeah, the wicks kind of just give it away. The wicks really give it away. This could definitely be a local top for sure, especially with how manipulated and how volatile that move is. It kind of gives it away, in my opinion. Now, let's see. Quick question. Do you believe that inflation has peaked? Well, here's the thing. I'm trying to look. Okay, it's over there, my copy of the Creature from Jekyll Island. But anyway, I don't believe the numbers they're saying. The Federal Reserve has printed, trillions of dollars. And, they can give us a fancy report with numbers and all that stuff. I'm not falling for it. So I don't think they'll ever be truthful about the numbers they put out. Okay, let's see what else. I think inflation is much worse than they're making it out to be. It says, do you believe this is another market maker fake one? Definitely could be. If everyone's bearish, maybe we head up higher. Well, it's a great strategy until it's not. What's in Donner? Okay, I don't know what that means. Sniper team for the win. Yeah, so that's basically all the comments. But yeah, I just want you guys to be careful. Look out for the wicks. It's a dead giveaway. Especially with a volatile, manipulated move. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Josh, I'm really glad that you're taking this stance right now because we haven't gotten confirmation. I think that's the most important thing to realize right now is we have not gotten confirmation just yet that Bitcoin wants to see continuation. Even though the equity markets have broke the recent consolidation high, Bitcoin needs to get above 24,300. That has always been our major resistance in the immediate short term. It wasn't just because we stopped at 24,300. We were eyeing 24,300 as our immediate short term upside target. As soon as Bitcoin came down below 20,000, that was the range resistance. And so right now we need to get above 24,300 to assume that this is a real push to the upside. And if we break above 24,300, guess what? For the bulls, that's the best case scenario because at that point, 17,600 is most likely a short term bottom, and that could last another 6 months. It could last forever. Who knows? But some people are calling for lower prices for Bitcoin, but that doesn't matter because what matters is what's happening right now. The present moment is all you have. The future and the past do not exist. So the markets are dynamic. And so 17,600 so far is the bottom. We have to keep that clear. And the monthly candle, as you guys remember, for July, we closed above the 2018 previous all-time high. And so the 2018 previous all-time high is a major support level right now. Just because we broke below it doesn't mean it's a resistance. We're above it. We've been above it for quite some time now. And the monthly candle clearly shows on the body that it is a major support level, potentially even a short-term bottom. And so this is an extremely important week for the equity markets. I think we have to see how this plays out over the next few days. It's only Wednesday, and so we have 2 more days left for the equities to be open, and then we have the weekend. So a lot could happen in that short time frame. One thing I'll mention as well is if we look at the Bollinger Band support, remember that $22,000 level was important because of the Bollinger Band support. And the reason this was important is because if we wanted to assume Bitcoin wasn't following this previous fractal where we reject the Bollinger Band and then see continued downside, we needed to break above the Bollinger Band resistance, which we did. And that brought Bitcoin up to that $24,000 level. Now we're back above 22,000. So there's a lot of important levels here inside of this range, but 22,000 is also very significant. The fact that we're above it right now is quite bullish. And then I saw that you showed the 4-hour chart on your chart, Josh, and it looks like our 4-hour candle is fully above the weekly open right now. So you were very accurate when you said that the weekly open is all that's holding us up right now in the immediate short term. So 22,600 is very important. And then we have that 200-week moving average right around the high of this current candle at 22,800. And so This is a very tight range that we're currently playing in for Bitcoin. Let's see what happens. If there's any other questions, we will address them. Something is wrong with the algorithm. Did you try to contact YouTube? Impossible. With 57,000 followers watching live, only a few people. We have over 100 people. Best of luck and thank you. Great analysis. Appreciate the kind words. Yeah, the algorithm is the algorithm. You just want to make sure you turn on those post notifications to make sure you get all of the updates. Johnny says, Gustavo is driving a bus along a motorway with a speed limit of, I guess it's just a spam.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Yeah.
Let's see. Bismain, do you think inflation has peaked? Well, oil is a good indication of when inflation has peaked. And oil, for the first time with our latest CPI report, it was down in 2022. Is the first time we've seen it down. And so it could have been a leading indicator that inflation has peaked. But of course, we'll have to wait for the next CPI report to get that answer. But the meeting today with the Feds, very neutral. I certainly wouldn't call it bearish, but I definitely wouldn't call it bullish. And it looks like, you know, Bitcoin just sold off from that $24,300 level until the news, and now we're reclaiming some of that sell-off, but we haven't yet gotten a confirmation of a breakout. So we have to monitor the four-dimensional revolving parts more than ever right now. And as I've been saying, the DXY is going to be that first one. Let's see what the DXY decides to do at 106.56. It hasn't made a decision yet. The S&P 500, so far, it wicked up to form some new consolidation highs, but still very undecided here. And so it's going to be an interesting week ahead of us. The Ethereum chart, by the way, I will mention this. The Ethereum CME gap has now been fully filled. And so there's no more CME gap here for Ethereum. It actually topped out right at that CME gap getting filled. And so that's a potentially big puzzle piece on the table. Let's see if we break back above the CME gap, now indicate it's not the final destination and that there's some room to the upside. But if we stay below that CME gap, it could have potentially indicated that that was the final destination for Ethereum. So I'm glad to see that that CME gap got filled. Bitcoin CME gap has not been filled yet. So Bitcoin is still not showing as much momentum as the equity markets. I would say that it's underperforming the equity markets. That's clearly defined here with the Bitcoin against SPY chart. You can see it's struggling to actually get above its 50-day moving average right now. The Bitcoin against SPY chart is clearly indicating that Bitcoin is underperforming the equity markets still. So let's monitor this 50-day moving average for the Bitcoin against SPY chart. On the weekly chart, you can see, though, it is above the 200-week moving average. So I don't think it can get more undecided than this, right? This is bullish, the fact that we're above the 200-week moving average, but the candle hasn't closed yet. And so we cannot just make that assumption just yet. What we do know is that in the short term, it's still underperforming. And that's why the equity markets, like the S&P 500, just formed new consolidation highs, but Bitcoin hasn't yet done that. It hasn't moved above 24,300. It's because it's still losing momentum against the equity market. So I would like to see this flip to the side of Bitcoin gaining momentum against the equity markets. And so there's a couple of things that we have to see for that. And part of that is staying above that 200-week moving average for Bitcoin against the SPY. But in the immediate short term, we want to start seeing that show some strength so that we can assume that we're getting a more risk-on environment in the markets, or else it further indicates a risk-off environment. And so I want to also talk about this, since we have a lot of viewers on our live stream right now. Remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to Josh's channel if you've yet to do so. It's in the description below. And just remember this, snipers, this downward channel that we followed when Bitcoin topped out at 69,000, we had a break above the resistance of that channel. A lot of people were calling for this to be the bottom at 33,000 for Bitcoin when we broke this downtrend channel resistance. And very similar to what's happening right now, if you look at the price, we broke above this channel resistance, right? And so what's interesting about this, and I've talked about this in the past, is when we broke through this channel resistance, just from the trough to the peak of the price action until we moved sideways was about 38%, which is literally exactly so far how far Bitcoin has went from this recent trough to peak. It's literally exactly 38%. And so we're seeing the exact amount of upside after breaking the channel resistance as we did here. And so what does that tell me as an analyst? Well, it tells me that we have to monitor this fractal as a potential fractal that's playing out right now. And so if that fractal plays out, what it assumes is once you see 30% upside, You come down, you form a higher low at some of the lows of the consolidation. We can even probably put a Fibonacci retracement on just this fractal alone to get an idea of how it looks. You can see you come down to the 786. It wicked below the 786 after that 38% push to the upside. And so if we were to just put this on the current consolidation and the current fractal that's playing out, what you'll see is if we come down to the 786, where would that put us? It put us at 19,000. And so, let's see what happens. I know there's probably a lot of leveraged long positions down in this area. Are they going to want to clear those out before they see continuation of this move to the upside? That could be on the table. That happens quite often where you'll see wicks come down to places where it breaks market structure just to get rid of those leveraged positions. And so, this is an interesting fractal that I'm currently monitoring for Bitcoin. And all of this could be invalidated if we just break above 24,300. And I'm going to stress this enough. It's not because that's where price has so far found resistance. No, this is because this level here has been on our charts for years now. And so over the last 2 years, since Bitcoin first started to find resistance at this level, we marked it down as a very important area here. Just remember from 2020, when we first broke the all-time high, this is where Bitcoin took a pit stop. And once that door opened above 24,300, there was no stopping Bitcoin to seeing new all-time highs there. And so that's why 24,300, once again, is extremely important. And it's actually more important when you look at it on the weekly chart, because on the weekly chart, this was the candle high. If you go into this weekly chart, just notice 24,300 was that candle high for the exact week that Bitcoin broke its all-time high back in 2020. And so that's why 24,300 is important. If we can open up this door, it opens up this massive range for Bitcoin to start playing around in. And so I would like to see that, of course. If you're bullish in the macro, that's what you want to see. But we've yet to get that confirmation here at 24,300. So I am on the same boat as Josh, as it is not the time to take long positions right now when we're at major resistance levels. The time would be if we get confirmation above a break here of 24,300, or for those that have been tuned to our channel, we took a long position here when Bitcoin dipped below 19,000 and formed this higher low. We always like to get our earliest confirmations. So for those leveraged positions long, this was the time to do so down here below the 2018 previous all-time high. And we could even say for the short positions, it was smart to take a short position here at 24,300. Is it wise to get into another position? Well, if we come back up to 24,300, that could be potentially bullish. The fact that we're knocking on that door again, the likelihood that it opens up becomes higher. And so it could be a trap there. But, I wouldn't say entertaining it. If you're ever going to take a short in this consolidation, I would say it's between 23,795 and 24,300 with a very tight stop loss right above this level. Because if we start to move above 24,300, expect a lot of volume to come in. Now, institutions clearly front ran this move by going long. FTX had a 10% premium on long positions, and open interest was up by over 300 million prior to the Fed's announcement. And so certainly the institutions front ran this move by going to the long side. And so, in the immediate short term, as Josh mentioned, this 4-hour candle at 23,000, that's an important area here. The weekly open is currently what's holding us up. Barely. I think we might even be below the weekly opens here. No, not yet. But on this 4-hour candle, you can see we're really testing this weekly open. So let's continue to monitor that. And Bizman said, I've personally been longing 3.5x since 19,000 and adding to my position. Bisman also said, what are your thoughts on the pi cycle bottom? Is it the ultimate bottom? What prices are you personally leverage longing at? Last time we took a long leverage on Bitcoin was right below 19,000. And since then, I've taken short positions on altcoins when Bitcoin reached this major resistance. And so I am entertaining some long positions on altcoins, because if you look at some altcoins with this move, like let's pull up Ethereum Classic real quick. And if you guys want to see some altcoins, put them in the chat before Josh and I wrap this up. But Ethereum Classic with this move today just broke into new consolidation highs. So there are some altcoins that are moving to the upside quite aggressively right now. And so is that a positive sign? Yeah, 100%. It's good to see that the altcoins are showing strength with this move. As a matter of fact, some altcoins are showing more strength than Bitcoin, like Ethereum Classic right now, with this announcement breaking into these new consolidation highs. And so a lot of this will have to do with what happens to the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, and it's really trying to get back above this potential area where we were expecting a lower high. It was a lower high so far, but that could be invalidated with a bullish break above 70,000 Satoshis. So we're really testing that right now with this news. So in the bearish case, we reject 70,000 again, and that wouldn't be too good because that means we come down at 65,000 potentially for a third knock on this door. But so far we came here twice, we've held up, and now we're back here at this resistance for a third knock. And so this is really the opportunity. As Josh said, this could be a major inflection point for the markets. This is a major inflection point for the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. It's knocking on this door for a third time, this major resistance. If we break above it, we can start looking at upside targets, and that would actually open up the door to 88,000 Satoshis for the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, and that could really drive Ethereum's US dollar pairing to some highs potentially above 2,000 US dollars. So that's going to come if the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart breaks that 70,000 Satoshi level. I don't know if that's going to happen until Bitcoin can get above 24,300. I really like to see Bitcoin break above 24,300 at this point, or else it's still underperforming against the equity markets, indicating that there's not as much strength. So other than that, I think we're going to wrap up this live stream. Do you guys have any other questions? And we can wrap this up. I've got some friends over and I'm pretty much wrapped up with what I wanted to cover. Josh, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do actually. And there's a few altcoin requests. I'll make it quick. So basically, I'm going to share my screen. One thing I want to point out here is that we're losing steam on this bullish move on the 4 hour. And the interesting thing is, if you actually look at it, every time we've had a lower high on the 4 hour, so we had this wick, which is kind of a dead giveaway for me, and on top of a very volatile move. But anytime we've ever had a lower high on the 4 hour, look what happened. Okay, this is a lower high, it dumped. This candle had a lower high, what happened? It dumped. The very first time we had a lower high, look what happened, it dumped. Lower high, dump. So the thing is, I think there's potentially some room for the downside from within this channel, this consolidation of this channel. If I were to enter a short right now, I would enter somewhere around right now, and then I would set my stop loss right above here. So that way you're not risking much, even if it does get hit. So the fact that we're making a lower high, let me plug my Mac in. So the fact that we're making a lower high, and every other time we've ever made a lower high on the 4 hour, it dumped. That's also very telling. Now, another thing I want to point out too is just a few altcoins, and we'll wrap up because basically we have a request for Sand and Matic and Solana. So we'll just go through it real quick. So we have Solana right here, and it's kind of doing the same thing. It's losing steam. It wicked up in a very volatile move to this moving average, and then it's making a lower high. And every time it's ever made a lower high, what happened? Bam, it dumped. What happened when it made a lower high? It dumped. What happened when it made a lower high? It dumped. What happened when it made a lower high? So that's what you want to look for. Yes, we're making on Bitcoin, we're making higher lows, but we're also making right now lower highs. So we're like caught in this like limbo where it's not very smart, I don't think. Now, so that's Solana. So I think there could be potentially we come down to this moving average, maybe the daily open for Solana. Let's go look at Sand and Matic real quick. Let's take a look at Matic, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So with Matic, same thing. I mean, all these are looking around the same thing. Like it's touched a critical, it's spiked up in a critical, point of resistance. In this case, the weekly open, it's a lower high. All this stuff looks the same to me pretty much. Solana is interesting how it came back up a little. Let's go back to the weekly of Solana. Good old Solana. Look at that yellow line, Naeem. Look how that ended up playing out. Perfectly called the bottom.
Your yellow lines are always the perfect bottom.
It's like as good as Bitcoin. Now, the one thing is that didn't hold up is the yellow line of Polkadot right here. And this is what we don't want to see happen to Bitcoin. We don't want to see it come and break this yellow line. That's very, very important. So Polkadot's not looking too good right now. In fact, if you did want to buy Polkadot, now would probably be the best time to do it. Let's take a look at Chainlink, same shit. Let's go look at Sand real quick, and we'll go from there. because we don't have much time left. And let's take a look. Sand. Okay, so what we're looking at with sand is, the way I draw this yellow line, just so you guys know, I just kind of figure out where the confluence is, right? So, for instance, maybe it would be something like this. This would be like my yellow line, basically. And then I would obviously do make it yellow because it's the color of gold. And then I would right click, settings, extend right line. That way you have it. And there we go. So this would be kind of the yellow line for Sandbox. And right now it's holding up. So, but yeah, I mean, this will look like another buying opportunity. Let's look at the daily. Yeah, so that's basically it. That's how I do it, guys. Well, anyway, that's it for me. So, Naeem, you want to say anything else before we?
No, that is it. I appreciate each and every one of you snipers tuned into the channel. We were expecting some volatility here on July 27th in anticipation of the interest rate increase. And we got the best news that I think we could have asked for. Yes, a 50-point rate increase would have been better for the markets, but 75 points is as expected. And Jerome Powell started mentioning the potential of slowing down, not with any decisiveness, but the fact that it's in his vocabulary is all we could ask for. And so the markets have so far reacted positively to this. This could be a buy the hype, sell the rumor, whatever it might be type of event. And so let's give the markets some time to really acclimate and really take in this news so we can get a real reaction. The DXY hasn't really moved away from 106 point or 10, whatever that major support was on our charts. And so the DXY hasn't really made its decision to move up or move down yet. And I think that that's going to be the ultimate deciding factor for what happens to Bitcoin and the equity markets. So thank you all for tuning in to this Wednesday live stream after a very important announcement. And subscribe to Josh's YouTube channel. Link is in the description below. Smash the like button before you guys head out. And until next time, Josh and I will see you guys later. Snipers.